Hello, and welcome to Wind Down Wednesday, episode 30. And then I wanted to just say a quick reminder about the upcoming chakra course I have, Exploring the Chakras. It's going to be a great experiential class. We're going to do some talking and interacting in terms of learning, but we're going to do meditations, we're going to do sound practice, and I'm going to share this practice of primordial chakra tones that I have found very life-changing for myself. So I encourage you to head to the website. Under the events page, you can learn more about that. Whew, all right, it's been quite a day, so I'm gonna shake it off a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of that, I think, in the meditation today, and a little bit of vocalization to kind of move some energy. So I saw this post a few days ago from someone that I follow on Instagram, the Femme Genius, and it was so thought-provoking to me, and it really kind of like switched a light bulb on in my head. And so I'm going to read just a little bit of what she said, and then I'm going to go into a little bit about why I found this to be so inspiring and how it kind of shifted my view of trauma and mindfulness. But the first thing I want to say is that I think all of us have had trauma in our lives, some obviously to a much greater extent than others, and our experience of it is very individual. Some of us went through traumas that actually physically threatened our being, our survival, and some of us have been through traumas that were so emotionally traumatic that it causes a physical response in the body. So I always encourage you to reach out for one-on-one help if you need it, especially in dealing with trauma. Reach out to a coach or a counselor, psychiatrist, a mental health professional if you feel like you need help one-on-one. And sometimes that's the best way to start resolving and living past the trauma, letting go of the trauma, releasing it, and then moving on. So let me read you just a little bit of what this post was, and then I'm going to talk about my reaction to it. So she said, mindfulness can be triggering to trauma survivors. Your nervous system has protected you by detaching you from your body. And her recommendation to trauma survivors was to try to build mindfulness in small steps. And I thought this was so interesting because I have had so many people say to me, oh, I just can't meditate. I have such a hard time with meditating. I can't sit still. I can't focus. And all of a sudden this sort of switch went off in my brain, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that has to do with this trauma response. And I started thinking about it. I went back, I was looking through all the 29 episodes of Wind Down Wednesday that we've had so far. And the very first one was about stepping out of fear. So I talk a lot about fear versus love, or scarcity versus abundance. But the thing about trauma is that a trauma response is fear on steroids. So we all have these kind of lingering fears, or maybe low-level fears that are sort of always with us in the background. And a lot of times when we're talking about fear, we're talking more about that kind of generalized feeling of fear. And sometimes it'll kind of spike. But trauma is like that fear on steroids. Trauma is sometimes a full-on panic response. So we're talking about your heart racing, hearing buzzing or white noise in your ears so that you're not really understanding, you're not processing information as it comes in. And then sometimes having tunnel vision where you can actually, physically, you can't really see your surroundings. So this trauma response causes a physical response in the body. And then we start to develop neural pathways, and that trauma response becomes our automatic response to things. And anytime we get triggered by anything, it may be totally unrelated to the specific trauma, then that trauma response comes back up and we go into this full-on panic. And so what I say sometimes is that fear kicks us out of the body. If it takes us out of physical presence, out of being in our body, it kicks us out of the body. So if fear kicks us out of the body, trauma launches us out of the body like a rocket, because that's a survival mechanism. And that's kind of what she was saying in that post, was that if you were just trying to survive, one of the ways we do that is to detach our consciousness from our body. A lot of times when people are talking about going through a super traumatic event, they might even say, I saw myself from outside, as though I was no longer in my body. So when someone like me comes along and I'm like, let's talk about mindfulness, let's get into our body, that might be very triggering if you have suffered traumas or if you're still kind of in this trauma response and you haven't fully dealt with that. You haven't started building new neural pathways to bring yourself more into ease and more into that parasympathetic or that relaxation response. So that's what I want to talk about a little bit tonight. So one of the things that I took away from this pain event last night that I really loved was Angie, who shared the yoga portion. She said, practice makes progress. So we've all heard that saying, practice makes perfect. Practice makes progress. So how do we retrain our brain to get out of that trauma response without getting totally overwhelmed? So if I sit here every week and I'm like, let's do a 20-minute meditation, and you can't even sit in silence for 2 minutes because it starts bringing up that trauma, then you're not going to be able to sit in 20 minutes of meditation. And I completely understand that. So the idea of small steps is what we're going to talk about tonight. It's uncomfortable to start coming into the present moment for all of us. And even people who are very experienced meditators, when you get really agitated, it's hard to bring yourself into the body. That's why we have so many tools. That's why I try to give you tools to help you in the moment, because just telling yourself, oh, I need to get present, if you're overwhelmed or kind of freaking out, that's not going to work. I thought it was interesting that, like I said at the beginning, and I want to bring this up one more time, I hear from so many people, I can't meditate, I can't sit still. Or I'll say, oh, did you listen to this meditation that I have? And, maybe it's 10 minutes long or it's 16 or 20 minutes long. Well, I can't make it through the whole thing. So the first thing is, as I always say, be gentle with yourself. If you can't make it through a whole meditation, don't beat yourself up about it. We're going to work tonight on some small steps that you can practice that will take much less time. And then eventually, like any practice makes progress. You're going to build your way up to being able to sit in a longer meditation. And your triggered trauma response to me right now might be like, why would I want to do that? This is terrible. This is how we build those new neural pathways. These small steps that allow us to step out of that triggered reaction and into a calm, intentional response. That starts to retrain the brain. It actually starts to change our brain chemistry so that we can maintain that, because trauma response is highly unpleasant. Anyone who's ever been kicked into that knows, that's an understatement. And ultimately, we want to step out of that. And for most of us, the trauma that we're still carrying is something that's no longer occurring for us. So the goal is to spend as much time as possible out of that trauma response and in this calm, parasympathetic ease response. And even if it's only 30 seconds for the first 10 days you try this, then maybe it'll get to 60 seconds, and then maybe you'll get to 2 minutes. And what I've noticed in myself, and I think that's what really got me thinking when I read that post, and it just kept coming back to me, and I was kind of at a loss for what I wanted to talk about tonight, and I really had to drill down into this. So I've talked a lot this year for myself about coming back into my body, about learning to stay in ease. Because it's very easy for me to get triggered as an empath. I can feel other people's energy. I went to get my second COVID shot today, which is amazing. I'm very grateful for that. But it's a very chaotic experience. You're in this long line of cars and everybody there is a little bit like, nah. And I could feel myself start to get into that triggered state. So now I have the tools to come back into my body fully. And even if I can't maintain it, maybe I took my big oxytocin breath. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then I felt better. And then 30 seconds later, it's coming back. And so you just keep practicing that. And then the practice makes progress. And what I have found for myself personally is that the more I meditate, the longer I can stay in ease. So while that first step may be very difficult for you if you're used to this trauma response, and the phrase trauma response might not even be familiar to you, but if you're someone who has a hard time sitting down in meditation, you find it uncomfortable physically, that's a lot of times a sign of emotional discomfort. You find that you have a hard time focusing, you find that you have a hard time sitting still. I think that for many of us, that is an indication that we have that trauma response getting triggered. It's not just that meditation's not for me, or I can't pay attention, or I don't feel like it today. Those are all sort of the defense mechanisms, the defense thoughts our ego has, because deeper down, we don't want to do that work because it's hard and it's scary and it's what our body is used to. So when you first start making change, it's like, it's very uncomfortable. And so then when you introduce this fear rocket launch of, fear sending you out of your body that is a true trauma response, it's even harder to convince yourself to even try this. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do some short segments of short things that you can do at any given moment, depending on where you are, because one of them is completely silent, one of them is a chant, and then one of them is a mantra, which you can do in your head or out loud. And we're going to do this a few times. And I know I've kind of gotten away from describing the meditation, but tonight it feels important to me because I want you to practice this throughout the week in short segments. So we're going to do 3 deep oxytocin breaths. And I talked a lot about oxytocin breaths last week. That was what I think it was last week, the episode on ease. Go back and watch that if you want to learn more about the oxytocin breaths. I'm going to explain it briefly as we go tonight, but if you want more information, you can go to the previous episode. So you can take 3 oxytocin breaths in about a minute, probably 45 seconds to a minute. If you were really in a panic and, kind of panting, it might be more like 30 seconds because the first one might be very shuddering and, as the energy starts to calm, the breath will lengthen. But one of the physical signs of anxiety is taking really short, shallow breaths. That's partly why they give people who are in a panic attack a bag. They have you breathe into a bag, and then that kind of the CO2 helps you kind of calm that response and stop that hyperventilation. So you can also do that consciously using these oxytocin breaths. So that's something that you can do in 30 seconds to a minute that can start to shift you out of that triggered response so that you have the opportunity to step back into the body and into ease and into the present moment. The other thing I really love is chanting and sound. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this, the primordial chakras practice that I've been doing, the primordial chakra tones practice that I've been doing has been life-changing for me. And the thing I love about sound is it doesn't matter what state of mind you're in when you make sound. The vibration of the sound does the energetic work for you. So you don't have to be centered and grounded and, in this space of energy that you've built. You could be completely freaked out and the vibration of the sound will bring you back into your body. And of course, we can't always make sounds, especially sometimes, and I was actually going to do an episode on this, and maybe we will. Like, you see me, sometimes I do this, and I do that vocally too if I'm really stressed out, and usually I don't do this in the grocery store because I don't want someone to call the police on me, but I might go, oh, bleh. That's a way of clearing energy, and it doesn't require any thought, and the vibration of moving that sound brings you back into the body. So we're going to do a very short chant. We've done this before silently and a little bit. I think you've heard me do it out loud. It's Sat Nam, Satnam. And that is a Gurmukhi phrase that comes from Kundalini Yoga. And it basically means truth and identity. And the way that I would translate that into this setting, the way I feel that vibration and the reason that I bring this chant, partly it's very short, but to me that means I am here. I am in my true identity and I am safe. So we're going to do some chanting where we actually do that out loud. You can use that as a mental mantra. And then the last thing we're going to do is a mantra, which mantra is always the most powerful if you can say it out loud. because of that vibration, but you can always repeat any of these things silently, like if you're in a place where you can't make noise. So we're going to use some just simple mantras like I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body. So we're going to do each of these things 3 times. We're going to do 3 breaths, and then 3 satnams, and then 3 affirmations, essentially mantras. And then I'm going to check back in with you because I want you to notice as we're doing this, do you feel like you're coming more present in the body? And you may find that you start to get sort of into a place where that triggering is getting worse. So then you can back off a little bit. Take a break for a second. Take a couple more deep breaths. You can get up and walk around the room and then sit back down. Whatever you need to do to keep yourself from getting fully triggered and into that panic state. And my go-to for that is breath. That oxytocin breath makes a huge difference. But any of the things that we're practicing tonight, you can do on your own. And I encourage you to try this out and try it out for a short period of time to start with, and then see if you can lengthen it a little bit. And then see if when you come back to these longer meditations, you start finding that you can get into ease a little bit more, that you can get more present. But always, as I say every week, be gentle with yourself, and especially when you're dealing with trauma. You do not need to beat yourself up. Somebody else did that to you. That's kind of what trauma is, whether it was emotionally or physically or whatever. So step out of that abuser role for yourself. It's so easy for us to be terrible to ourselves. So be gentle with this. If this is triggering and it's too much for you, then walk away. It's okay. And come back to it when you can. But do come back to it, because this is really a life-changing practice. And I'm here to say, as someone who has been a meditator for over 20 years, kind of on and off and shorter and longer, but now I have this dedicated practice where at least once a week I do a good 20 minutes of meditation with you. You will come more into ease. You will start to feel more comfortable in meditation, and it really will shift your energy. It will shift the way you look at the world. You'll get out of that fear and more into that love response, out of scarcity and into abundance. It really does make a difference. And the tools that we are using tonight are simple, and they're things that you can practice on your own. Let's get into the meditation, and I'll still be guiding you. I just wanted to give a little bit of more guidance than I maybe usually do. And I wanted to describe, because I also recognize that if you're in a trauma response, one of the things that can be really helpful is to know what's happening, to know what's going on. And very briefly, that oxytocin breath is a big, deep breath in through the nose. You can put your hands on your belly. Make sure your belly's really pooching out. You don't want to be breathing into the chest like we do when we're anxious. Big, deep breath into the belly. Sigh it out with that nice loud noise. Hopefully tonight you can do that softly if you need to in public, but the more noise you make, the more energy that moves, and the faster you get into ease. And then if you'd like to, at the bottom, you can do that grounding oomph, and that helps bring you into the body even more. So let's get started. So find yourself a comfortable position. Sitting up, lying down, whatever feels good to you tonight. And take a moment as we start here to notice where your awareness is. Do you feel like you're kind of hovering up in the brain in that mental area, or even kind of out of the head? I feel myself kind of pulling out of the head sometimes when I'm getting overstimulated. So just notice that, don't judge it. And as we go through this meditation, notice if that starts to shift. Maybe that energy starts to feel like it's coming down, and you can feel it in your heart or in your belly or in your legs and feet. And instead of going through a grounding tonight like we usually do, I want you to just notice how this practice affects your grounding. Notice if it helps you come more fully into the body. So we're going to begin with 3 of those deep oxytocin breaths in through the nose, sighing it out. And then you could add the grounding on everyone or just on the last one or not at all, whatever feels right to you. Ooh. 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 And now I want you to chant Sat Nam with me. The pitch doesn't matter. We're doing a long Sat and a short Nam. Don't worry about the sound of your voice. This is just for the vibration. So let your voice find its own pitch. And then join me for 3 Sat Nams. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. And now repeat the following mantra out loud if possible. I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body at this moment. I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body at this moment. I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body at this moment. And now check in with yourself after this first round. Notice if you feel different. Has anything shifted? Has that awareness come down further into the body? Do you feel your feet below your knees? Do you feel your bottom on the seat? And if nothing's shifted, that's okay. Just notice, no judgments. And we're going to do all that again. So take 3 more oxytocin breaths with me and add the grounding if you like. Ooh. Ooh. And join me for 3 Sat Nams, long Sat, short Nam. Whatever pitch your body produces is perfect. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. And then, out loud if possible, affirm with me, I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body in this moment. I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body in this moment. I am safe. It is safe to be present in my body in this moment. And then check back in with yourself again here. Has anything shifted from the first round to the second round? Do you feel calmer and more relaxed? Maybe you feel more triggered, and that's okay. Maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to move around if you need to shake anything out, if you have some tension. If you want to make some noise, let anything out that needs to come out. And we're going to do that one more time. So let's do our 3 deep oxytocin breaths. And then let's practice our 3 sat nams. Any pitch that comes out is perfect. Sat nam. And affirm with me, I am safe. It is safe to be fully present in my body. I am safe. It is safe to be fully present in my body in this moment. I am safe. It is safe to be fully present in my body in all moments. And now, if you feel called to, you can repeat that more times if you'd like. You can come back to this meditation. We did 3 rounds of the 3 practices. Notice how things have shifted. Do you feel more present in your body? Do you feel safer in your body? Do you feel more connected with your body? Let yourself explore that for the next few moments. Say you are. You are safe in this moment. It is safe to allow yourself to be present in the body, to practice coming more fully present as you're ready. It is safe to sit still and to be in silence. It is safe to allow yourself to rest when needed. It is safe to let your body relax. Staying very gentle with yourself here. Very slowly, bring some awareness back, bring some movement into the body. You can roll your wrists, roll your ankles, move your neck around. If you feel the urge to do any shaking, if there's anything you want to let go of before you open your eyes, do that now. You can do that with movement or sound. Take one more nice deep oxytocin breath with me. And let's just spend 10 more seconds fully present in this moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I encourage you to continue this practice. One of those forms of coming into the body may have resonated with you more. So feel free to choose one tool and use it over and over again in short bursts and see how that shifts things for you. Notice that your practice makes progress, and notice that you'll start being more gentle with yourself You'll start coming into your body more often, and you'll be able to maintain that for a longer period of time. And that will bring you that feeling of safety that we all deserve. Everyone deserves to be safe and loved. Be gentle with yourself for the rest of tonight and this week. Reach out for help if you need it. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good rest of your evening and rest of your week. Be gentle with yourself. Be loving toward yourself. And I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.